He might be. He's all, hey, great Tuesday, Taco Tuesday evening. It is an amazing day in the city of Brownsville. It's an amazing day in the city of Brownsville for a lot of reasons, but especially because tonight we got Bob Torres. Hey, Bob Torres, how you doing?
How you doing? Is it Mr. Cheese, Erasmo, Mr. Castro? What do I?
It's Mr. Handsome.
Okay, Mr. Handsome.
But baby, you can call me anything you want. And we got the mayor too.
Oh yeah.
We got Mayor Trey Mendez. Trey Mendez. Hey, Mr. Mendez, how you doing, Mayor?
Doing good. Thank you for having me. And Frankie, thanks. And Bob, welcome.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Make a big old deal because Bob. Let me tell you, Bob's a celebrity in the city of Brownsville, man. You know, if you know Bob, you're in the in crowd here in Brownsville.
At the very least, self-proclaimed.
Yeah, very much so. And let me tell you, you know, I'm going to admit it because someone asked me to confess. You know, I've had a crush on Bob for years. So, thank you, Bob. I'm glad that you're out and about and came out to visit with us today, Bob.
Out and about, not out, just out and about.
Not just out and about.
Yeah.
Guys, it has been an interesting day in the city of Brownsville. Let's get down to business because, Bob's time and, of course, Mayor Mendez's time is very, very valuable. Let's take advantage of them. You know, not in a bad way, but take advantage of them their time. And we'll start off with the numbers. The numbers came in for the city of Brownsville and, for the Cameron County. And one of the things that I think is very impressive in regards to the number count is that we have 14 cases in the city of Brownsville. I mean, that is very, very disappointing. 5 of those cases are community linked or community cases, not linked to previous cases. But again, the numbers are very, very staggering. One of the things I think that we should take into account, out of the 23 cases that were reported here in the city of Brownsville, I mean, 14 are ours. That's more. Wait, hold on. I think that's more than half, no?
Yep.
Mayor Mendez, what are the numbers telling us, Mayor Mendez?
Well, the numbers for the last at least 2 to 3 weeks have been averaging double digits every day. We've seen some of our highest rates over the course of the last 3 weeks. And it's telling me that we're not even close to getting through this pandemic. We've seen, and we discussed this off air, but also this is we're not. I wouldn't even say that we're at the peak yet. We've got graduations happening today. We had events last weekend. We had Memorial Day. We're going to have Father's Day coming up. We're going to have 4th of July coming up. So this isn't ending by any stretch. And you look at our mobility index. We were doing really good there for a while now. It's looking really bad. So people are out on the street acting like nothing's happening. The one saving grace, though, and it's actually a startling figure, but the one thing that's been helping us is that our hospitals have not been overwhelmed. But a big reason for that is because the highest number of cases that we have, and we saw this at the city commission meeting earlier today, the highest number of cases that we have are individuals between the age of 20 and 29.
Yes.
And then the next highest number is individuals between the age of 30 and 39. So you're looking between 20 to 39 has been the highest number of positives in Brownsville. And that tells me that some of our younger individuals are acting as if nothing's wrong, nothing's happening. And they're strong, they're healthy. They don't have any chronic illnesses yet, but they need to think about tios, tias, abuelos, abuelas, because those are the ones that are going to have issues long term.
Well, that's one of the things that we've been following, and again, I've made mention of it, several times. It is amazing in regards to the numbers of the individuals that are, young in their 20s, 30s, 40s. I think one of the things that I made mention of yesterday's numbers that everyone was young. I mean, even the individual that came out positive yesterday, and I think it was from Brownsville, all the numbers that came in positive yesterday were from Brownsville. The oldest on that list was 73, and I don't consider that. I still consider that young at a certain sense. Because a lot of people are now living up to the ages of 80s and 90s, as we've seen in regards to the individuals that have passed away in Cameron County. Bob, do the numbers? What do they tell you, Bob?
Well, I agree with the mayor. I just don't. I think that everyone has been a little I don't want to use the word naive, but definitely we're not out of this. And with everything opening up and people letting their guard down, if you will, I just don't see any other way than that the numbers are going to continue to rise. As many a doctor and scientists have said, it's not gone. We don't have a cure. And if we're out there in public and we keep getting out, and my mother's 80. Well, maybe I shouldn't say. She might be watching, but she really hasn't been out of the house in over 60 days. And I'm taking her breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and trying to do my best to clean everything up, and because she's concerned, and I just don't think that anybody should let their guard down. It's still there. The numbers, like the mayor pointed out right now, they're rising. I don't think the Memorial Weekend numbers have come in yet. So everybody that went to the beach or parties or things like that, it's got to go higher. So.
Well, one of the things that I will say, and then Bob, I think the last time, and I don't want to call you Mr. Torres because you're Bob. I have to call.
No, that was my dad.
I have to call Trade Mayor Mendez because then I'll get in trouble. But Bob, I think the last time that I saw you, Bob, is something that is very commonplace for me. I constantly see you out there, taking your mom to lunch, and I think that's very, very commendable. That's really, really very, very awesome. It says a lot about you. And it's one of the things that I think is very, very concerning to a lot of us. A lot of us, we care about our parents. We love our parents. And it's something that Mayor Mendez mentioned in regards to, hey, out of love for your elderly relatives, the loved ones, please make sure that you're out there taking care of yourself, taking care of everybody else. But again, going back into last time I saw you, I think it was at Lotus Inn Cafe on Boca Chica, which is where we constantly meet up for lunch. We see each other out there for lunch. Businesses are starting to open back up. How is that going for us, Mayor, in regards to businesses opening back up?
We're seeing businesses that are complying with governor's guidelines, and I'm hearing about a lot of businesses that are not. And unfortunately, the businesses that are not are going to be contributing to the spread. Those that are, I applaud them and I thank them for taking precautions. If we don't take precautions, we're not going to get through this. But I just want to remind everybody, restaurants are at 50% capacity. That means that you're going to have to also stay 6 feet apart from other tables. Best way to do that is skip one table over the other. No groups larger than 6. I've seen videos. I've seen photos of restaurants, bars not complying with these guidelines. And really, these guidelines are there, not set by the city, but set by the governor for a reason. And the reason is to try and control this virus and try and not overwhelm the hospital system and try and make sure that we all stay safe and that our families stay safe. So businesses are opening up again. It's good to see the economy moving a little bit, but the numbers, we just have to understand. Reopening before we had control of the virus may be good for the economy, but it's also going to be bad for the numbers. So don't expect the numbers to go down.
No.
There's absolutely no reason for the numbers to go down. There's no policies, procedures in place that are going to contain the spread at this point in time. So don't expect to see the numbers go down. Don't be shocked when the numbers go up. Don't be shocked when the deaths go up. It's going to happen, guys. And please just take precaution. Continue to wear protective facial coverings if you can. Try and limit your outings. Try and limit your social gatherings. Try and keep distance between yourself and others. So just try and your best to take precautions, if not for yourself, for those around you and for your family.
Erasmo, Cameron County did have 23 positive cases. Hidalgo had 26. And the most alarming for us here locally was the amount of young children. I have 2 10-year-olds, a 9-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 16-year-old. So again, we do have the transmission being through community and some through travel. So again, we are still not adhering to the recommendations by our public health officials who are recommending the social distancing, wearing the mask. And again, like how the mayor previously mentioned, we do have graduation and parties and things like that. So it doesn't seem like if we're going to be out of this in the near future, so have we peaked? I don't think so. How long would that take? So it's going to be very interesting these next couple of weeks.
One of the questions that Doreen is asking is actually one of the next questions that I want. Well, maybe questions and statements I want to ask in regards to who polices the businesses that don't comply. What happens to them? I will say one of the things and again, the mayor is going to correct me. One of the things is that the expectation, the hope of the governor of the state of Texas, who's actually the one who has opened the state of Texas up to the degree that he has. One of the expectations is that businesses are going to basically self-police. And, I think the responsibility starts falling us as community members, to try and do the right thing, folks. But I'm going to guess that a lot of the times, because of the false narratives that are shared out there in regards to this being a hoax, it's not going to affect anyone, the flu and blah, 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 and some leadership not complying, not taking action, not making statements, I think it establishes this false insecurity where people actually think that it's okay, to go to bars and overcrowd them, to go have events at home with thousands or hundreds of people, or, restaurants not complying. Mayor Mendez, am I completely off base?
No, not at all. We know about it. We see it. And the enforcement is up to the city, but it's also up to individuals to let us know. We can't police what we don't know, what we can't see. Police officers and health department personnel are not going to be stationed at every single establishment in the city at one time. So we need to know when this is happening. We need to know where it's happening so that we can do something about it. I certainly do not want to turn a blind eye to any of this. So individuals, part of your responsibility as individuals and as citizens of the city as well is to let us know and report these incidents, please.
In regards to Maria's question, again, I'm going to take a little bit away from the mayor and say, we're expecting that BISD, especially because they're in academia, they're there to educate. It is our hope that they don't need policing in regards to following compliance. Bob, in regards to you're a small business owner, or you're a major business owner, it's a huge business. How are these guidelines affecting you all in the real estate business or property business?
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, somehow or another, real estate agents, realtors, brokers were deemed as essential by the state. So I could still go to listing appointments, show property, but my car has turned into a mini ambulance lab. I've got the gloves, the mask, and everything. And just to touch back on what the mayor was talking about, what you also talked about, is wearing the mask is been told to us over and over and over again. It's not so much about us. It's about our fellow human being, we go back to different places. That's how I was in Walmart Sunday morning buying groceries for Mom. And there were many a person in there without a mask on.
Yes.
And I just don't see why you wouldn't wear one, so, but getting back to my business, it's really crazy. I've been busier than ever.
Wow.
Some of the theories are that, the stock market is kind of tanked and stuff, and people are pulling their money out and saying, hey, I don't know how much longer things are going to be. I'm going to go ahead and buy that new house. The island, I understand, has been going crazy.
Booming.
They've been selling condos and homes right and left.
And before
so people are just saying, you know what?
And before I go to my question to you, Mr. Torres or Bob, I will answer this. And schools are not open. I'm not sure exactly what the question is, Natalie, but I will say this one thing. I did put up a post in regards to my concerns with school-age children, falling prey to this, and the absence of any word from our leadership, administration at BISD in regards to addressing the matter. My concern, Natalie, is that if students, school-age children, are right now testing positive, what are we to expect as soon as school starts back up? Because we already know that the academia, the administration, we already know that they think it's a hoax, that they don't believe it's true, that it's going to disappear magically, which are the words of the board president. We already know that. And we already seen the pictures at the school where everyone's out there hugging and kissing and putting little cuernitos on people. We already know that. We already know that they have no clue or concept. So if right now school-age children are falling victim because of association, what are to expect as soon as school starts back up and they want kids back to school? But my question, and not just to answer Natalie's question, or to give a statement, back into Mr. Torres, one of the things that we've experienced recently is that the appraisal district sent out their tax sheets or tax bills or something. And a lot of people are noticing that their appraisal rate has gone up drastically. Some people have even made mention that it's just bad timing because it's during this quarantine, this COVID-19 thing. Have you seen an increase in regards to the appraisal districts and the amount of taxes that people are going to start to pay out there?
Yes, especially actually the brokers. Well, first of all, let me qualify that Natalie is my wife, so I don't know if that was a plant or not. But we had a realtor brokers meeting that we did a Zoom online, and we had it with Senator Lucio, and that's one of the things that was brought up, and especially on the commercial side. I know that most of the people we're talking to, they care about their homestead. But on the commercial side, they've drastically gone up, and something needs to be done about it. I know they're having shortfalls. Other places, the first thing they want to do is go reach out and get it. But it is a problem. It has gone up quite a bit, and the commercial buildings, such as the mayor and many others, the income is not there, and then they're raising the taxes on it, so it creates a big problem. So I think that somebody needs to step in. It's not going to be anybody local. It's going to be up to the commission, the county commission, I'm assuming, to look into that. It used to be in years past that every time I went in to help a client argue or debate an assessment on a value, that they were very cooperative, and we took in the comps, and a lot of times they were lowered. But over the years, I've seen that change where it just doesn't happen as often anymore. And I think it stems from the lack of the funds that they're losing from somewhere else. The bridge, for example, they've lost a tremendous amount of money from bridge crossings on our side. So they have to make up for it somehow or another.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that in regards to the bridge crossings. One of the things that both you, Bob, and Mayor Mendez have in common is the downtown area, and the downtown area. A couple of bridge. Sorry. The downtown area. One of the things that I think the downtown area has suffered greatly is because of the lack of individuals that are coming in from Mexico who generate a lot of the funds that are used for all of Brownsville, but especially to people down there at downtown. Now, have we pushed forward in regards to downtown renovations? Where were we at? Is that have been lowered in regards to the priority list for downtown? What's going on downtown?
Is that for me or is that for Bob?
Mayor.
Okay.
Bob can chime in.
Yeah, Bob can chime in as well. He's got quite a bit of knowledge on this. But downtown renovations still happening. There's a couple of large-scale projects being done. Just up the street on Adams, on the corner of 11th and on the corner of 12th and Adams. There's a couple of big projects happening. One's going to be residential, our first residential development, I think, downtown. And then the second one's going to be a mixed-use development right across from the fire station. So those are two big projects happening. We've got some other restorations happening downtown. I will say the virus slowed things down, but it hasn't come to a stop downtown. And I don't want to see that momentum stop, because we have so much going on down there, and things are still happening. And just like the rest of the city, things have slowed down a bit, but we hope to pick it back up. And thankfully, those two large-scale projects are still going, and there's still properties changing hands. Properties are being sold. Properties are being purchased. People are still showing interest downtown, but it's going well. And I let Bob take it from there as far as what he's seeing, what sort of interest he's seeing in the market, whether he has clients or other individuals looking for places downtown.
Yes, there definitely. There is that caution now, because especially with commercial properties, the financing is a lot more difficult than getting an FHA loan to buy your residential home or things like that. But I get calls every single day, and it's a testament to the mayor, the commission, and others that took that leap of faith to go downtown. I'll tell you, just in my own business, when I moved into my office downtown, which I absolutely love, and I credit with, thank you. And I credit with my recent success, and also after my not to get dark or anything, but after my dad passed away, I was kind of floundering there. And I moved downtown, and a lot of my realtor friends says, "What the heck are you thinking, moving an office downtown?" Because the majority of the things that had already started were restaurants and bars and things like that, and there weren't too many offices. And I said, "Look, I'm old. I remember walking around these streets. I would go there with my grandparents and my parents, and so I've always had a tremendous love for downtown. And one of the things that I really, really enjoy is just if I get a long phone call, I get up from my desk, I'll walk out the door, I'll pass the lychee, I'll go in front of the building, and I'll take a walk around Market Square while I'm on the phone. It's absolutely wonderful.
It's very beautiful.
And one of our great assets is the history that we have in Brownsville, and second to San Antonio. But getting back to the main point, I apologize, Mayor. What I've seen in the last 3 years downtown has just been a tremendous, and I think that we've tried that uphill road, but I think that we have made that turn to where we're making that turn, and we were in a very good turn, and then this pandemic, because there's just people right and left who are just waiting to open up more and more things, and there's all kinds of things that are just waiting to happen downtown. So little by little, people will, and the city's been great, and so there's been still a tremendous interest in it, moving downtown.
Awesome. One of the things that get real quick before I forget, one of the things that we've noticed, and it is, the downtown, because of the historical value, should be considered one of the gems of the city of Brownsville. One of the things that we've seen recently, Mayor, is that there's two of our other gems that are struggling right now. One of them being Camille Playhouse, and the other one being Gladys Porter Zoo. In respects that they have established GoFundMe pages out there. One, Camille Playhouse, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I guess maybe to sustain themselves. Gladys Porter Zoo, in order to feed the animals. That's what was on the GoFundMe page. Is there some type of relief? And the citizens of Brownsville have really, stepped forward, or people from somewhere have really stepped forward and have donated in one way, shape, or form or other, which is great. But is there any relief that can be given by the entities like the City of Brownsville, PUB, to help out these gems of Brownsville that are also struggling?
Well, the zoo, to start off, the city, that's one of the focuses of my administration is revamping the zoo. There hasn't been a major restoration or renovation of the zoo since 1971 when it opened. So we're coming up on 50 years. And the city has moved forward with a zoo master plan. We did select a company, and we're moving forward on that to try and get an assessment of how to expand the zoo. That's a goal, is to expand the zoo, turn it into an even larger tourist attraction. For the time being, the citizens did step up, like you said, to help the zoo out. They've also tried to help the Camille out. The Camille's in the Midi Cultural District, so I know that the Midi Foundation, the Midi family, has been engaged in that and is trying to assist the Camille Playhouse as much as they can. There's still obviously some resources that they could use, but things are tight right now. The city is going to lose about 13 to 14% worth of tax revenues over the next couple of months. So things are tight, and we're getting some funding from the feds, but that funding is mostly for reimbursements and other things like that. It's not to help offset other businesses like this. If we can find a way to do it, we will, and we are doing our best. But a part of this also is them helping themselves.
Mayor, we recently had the HEB leave downtown. Had there been talks or other businesses wanting to either renovate or move in the near future?
Actually, yeah, there is the Community Development Corporation of Brownsville, which rebranded itself as Come Dream, Come Build, purchased a building downtown within the last couple of months, and their goal is to put in a co-op grocery store on the bottom level where Payless is or was, whatever. That 4 or 5 story building, they're going to turn the rest of it into residential development. So you'll have residences and hopefully, God willing, a co-op grocery store on the bottom level as well.
Well, in regards to going back into the funding for the zoo, one of my biggest concerns is that they were needing money in regards to feeding the animals. And I made sure that one of my biggest concerns is I want the koalas to have enough food out there because I love koalas. They're amazing. But with that said,
And the elephants.
Monday,
The elephants.
and the elephants are gone.
I know.
The elephants are gone, but
One of the reasons the elephants are gone is because because of space. Right, there you go. And that's one of the reasons that the elephants unfortunately had to leave the zoo was because of space. So we realized that our zoo is in a way landlocked. Erasmo, you and I had these conversations when you were on the BISD board about how cooperation with BISD towards a zoo expansion is definitely necessary. But it's hopefully something that can go forward in the future, and we can do a zoo expansion.
Amen. Well, my question is there any way to encourage a lot of the other richer entities in the city of Brownsville, for example, like a PUB that has had some monies left over? I know that for many times in the past, I know that several commissioners have gone to PUB and requested their assistance in regards to helping out with different projects or different pet projects in the city of Brownsville. This is talking about commissions past. Is there any way that our Public Utilities Board could chip in and assist our zoo at this time of crisis?
Well, there's all sorts of entities, right? But at that point, it's up to the entities to decide who they can help or who they want to help, because everybody is hurting right now. So how do you determine who to help fund and who not to fund, especially when you're talking about public funding, right? But I'm not aware of any of these entities coming to PUB at this point. What I don't want PUB to be is a slush fund or any sort of fund for this. It really needs to focus on being a utility and lowering its rates, eventually, scaling these rates back, which I'm definitely a proponent of and in favor of. But there's a lot of entities, and like I said earlier, everybody's hurting. How do we move forward, and how do we get back on track? Some of it's going to be through federal funding. Some of it is going to be through private funding. And unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of businesses and a lot of entities that don't survive this. Yes. Just like we have individuals that don't survive, there's going to be, unfortunately, businesses and other entities that will not survive this pandemic.
Well, one of the other things that I think, and the question was asked, and I didn't mean to skip it. It's just that there's just so much out there. But when we are approaching hurricane season, actually, I think we started yesterday. June the 1st was the start of the hurricane season here in our area. We know that there's in the Bay of Campeche, there is a tropical storm. There's another one that's forming as well in the Gulf of Mexico. One of the things that several cities in the valley have already started is distributing sandbags to be proactive. Is Brownsville, or do you know of Cameron County, going to start on the same path in regards to start the distribution of sandbags out there?
To be quite honest, Erasmo, I don't know about the sandbag distribution at this point in time. I will ask, but I don't know about when they will be distributed. I know that we are having a hurricane awareness live stream, I believe, on Monday. So hopefully, if the question hasn't been answered by then, I encourage your listeners to please ask the question on that day.
Awesome.
Because we'll have individuals that are in charge of that on the show.
Now, going back to downtown, one of the other things that we experienced this weekend was something that's very, very commendable. Individuals, got together out there in the city of Brownsville to protest. They're united to protest. We had the protest this morning going on in the city of Harlingen. Again, civil protest, peaceful protest. All for it. But Mayor, in regards to the protest here in Brownsville, was there any point this past Sunday that you felt the need to call in the National Guard?
No, not at all. I think it was 8 people and a dog.
It
was about as peaceful a protest as you could get. And I've always been somebody who believes that if you see injustice, you should stand up and have a conversation about it and make people aware of the issue and the circumstances. Definitely not an issue for the National Guard. I just ask that if anybody's considering protesting or anybody's organizing protests, please keep them peaceful. Please keep them limited in some, make people aware of what the issues are that you're concerned about, you want to protest about, but be civil, be peaceful about it, and also realize that you're very fortunate to live in Brownsville. We are 90% Hispanic, so a lot of individuals that are here are the majority, right? So once you leave Brownsville and you go other places, then you really know what it's like to feel like a minority. But in Brownsville, we are all, for the most part, the majority, and we need to understand that and appreciate that. But when larger scale social issues like this come up, we are one, and we should all band together to make people aware of what the issues are.
Well, one of the things Frankie and Mayor Mendez, have in common is that they're both young. But me and Bob are a little bit older. So one of the things that I've shared, Bob, you probably share this as well. The youngins out there probably haven't experienced, Bob, but you and me, and I tell people because people ask in regards to racism, and I said, guys, we lived through racism. We lived through the 70s. I lived in part through the 60s. So in our travels going up to different parts of the country, we firsthand experienced racism. Bob, is that the case? Have you experienced racism, and is it, as Mayor Mendez said, a huge blessing to be in the city of Brownsville where it is not felt as harsh?
Well, I've always felt that it's a huge blessing to be in Brownsville. I love Brownsville. I can't stand when people put it down. I understand that we're not perfect, and there's a lot of things to do, but it's a great city. And everything becomes what you want to make of it. If you want to put it down, then it will go down. But getting back to, I was just having a conversation, and I'm going to talk about my mom quite a bit in this, I guess. But we were having a conversation about when we would travel up to Houston or to Dallas and stuff, and there were the restrooms that said no Mexicans allowed. There were the restaurants that no Mexicans allowed. I have a sibling who went to SMU Law School. This would have been the early 80s. Dallas was not a friendly city to a dark, fat guy like me. It was intimidating to go into some of these restaurants around University Park and things. Of course, nothing like what I've seen and what happened, unfortunately, to Mr. Floyd, may rest in peace. But I've definitely felt it. I've seen it. My dad, when he was in the real estate business, we would go up to conventions in Chicago and New York and San Francisco and stuff, and I experienced it. I mean, I saw it. So it's definitely out there. Unfortunately, you're judged just exactly the way you look. But another thing that was told to me the other day was, in order for us to be equal, and by us I mean Hispanics and the African American community, is we have to be better. We actually have to be better to be equal a lot of times, and that's technically that's sad, but it's the reality of it. And I don't want to get too deep into that, but there is racism out there, and if you act like there's not, then you're just sticking your head in the sand.
It's true. In regards to the zoo, just to answer Avi's question, I actually saw today that the zoo is actually taking measures to start the plan to reopen. If I'm not mistaken, and if someone correct me, I think it's going to be next week or maybe even this weekend.
It's going to be very soon, because I know they were working with the city on a plan for reopening. It's going to be within the next week or two, though.
Good. Yes, and that's what I understood. I saw that they were out there. How is Brownsville attracting people and businesses to Brownsville with high taxes and crazy PUB rates?
People always think that their taxes are high and the rates are high, but and see how we do against other cities. Our tax rate is higher, though, than other cities in the valley. It hasn't gone up in years, though, and I don't intend for it to go up as long as I'm mayor. But the PUB rates, like I said, I am a proponent of scaling those back. When you look at the PUB rates compared to other municipally owned utilities, we're actually one of the lowest, believe it or not. So I still want to scale those rates back, though.
One of the other things that we experienced this past week, maybe this weekend, I'm actually not completely sure. I think it was this weekend. I'm not sure. Anyway, we had an explosion out at SpaceX. Do we have any updates in regards to the damage that was caused to that area? I know that it's Cameron County, but I'm sure that maybe the city has also gotten informed. Any updates? What's what happened?
A lot of things that happened at SpaceX, the city's not very well informed about. It is county jurisdiction. I get a lot of questions about SpaceX, but quite honestly, they are very private about the things that happen out there. They don't communicate much with the city, if at all. Any communication that they have, if they have any, is with the county. Unfortunately, I wish I could answer that, but I really can't. I don't know.
Well, one of the things that I think is very important is that I ran against mayor, the previous mayor. I ran against the previous mayor. And one of the things that he was touting out there was, oh, SpaceX, and it has to do with Brownsville. And one of the expectations I think that we had, a lot of individuals in Brownsville, even after I lost that election, but even after I lost that election, one of the expectations was, that SpaceX was going to, get off the ground. In regards to having manned or space rockets fly out into space, and sometime very, very soon. I think we were promised 2017 or 2018. I'm not mistaken. I'm not really sure. I'm mistaken. But anyway, what other forms of income? Being now that we have loss of income in regards to people coming in from Mexico to spend their money from Mexico, and because of the tax lower tax money coming in. Are there any plans in regards to bringing in more income into our area?
Of course, absolutely. I mean, long-term plan for the city is to grow our tax base and grow our assessed value. Right now, I think our assessed value is about 7.1 billion. We need to bring that up, obviously, and the way we see doing that is through increased commercial and industrial development. Industrial development does not mean factories and smokestacks. What that means is industrial development can be warehousing, can be other logistical things. There's a lot of that. So when you're looking at increasing your revenues, you got to look at increasing commercial and industrial development. Our percentage of commercial and industrial development is minuscule compared to other cities. And we're less than 10% on each, which is terrible. Our residential percentage is about 70%, which is extremely high. When you're looking at the depreciated assets over time and how much it costs for the city to provide services to residential as opposed to commercial and industrial, it's really bad, and it's not a moneymaker. So for deferred maintenance and long-term infrastructure, it's not good to have the majority and an overwhelming amount of residential development. So yeah, we have plans, and we've already worked towards plans on luring and increasing commercial and industrial development. And that's where sometimes commercial industrial development realtors like Bob come in and sell the city and really try and bring people and make the pitch.
One of the things I think that and going back into bringing income in and keeping individuals here in Brownsville, one of the things that's going on today, Mayor, you made mention of in regards to graduation. It's going on actually every single day of this week. Tonight it is Hannah graduates that are graduating. One of the things that we have yet to experience in regards to, not very sure what students are going to do. It is the time where students plan to leave Brownsville, to go continue their studies elsewhere. I think a lot of are going to experience a lot of distant learning in regards to online classes for a lot of our college students, even that had plans to go elsewhere. But let's go back into BISD in that respect. BISD in that respect. BISD, we know that right now they're going to, start to go back, and they're not sure if they're going to do a hybrid, non-hybrid system. And I'll go to Bob for this. One of the things that we did at BISD, Bob, is we closed down 3 schools because of economics. So now that the schools following recommendations are going to be, cutting down on individuals, cutting down on individuals inside a classroom. Would it be feasible, possible, being that they are properties that were closed down, is it going to be feasible property for BISD to reuse those properties and have our students out there?
The schools that actually have closed and reused them, well, I think they've actually got many choices. I mean, they could actually sell them to the city or a private entity and use those funds to put back into the other things if they didn't need them. I know a lot of the new subdivisions, almost always, and Glore was the Glore family and the Glore developments back in the day were famous for this. They always, every time they did a subdivision, they set aside and donated to BISD so they would have a school in their subdivision, which would help them sell homes.
Right.
And so I'm not sure if I'm understanding 100% correctly what you're asking about the empty schools, but certainly they shouldn't sit there empty. We might have to go to The world, I think, is really going to change. We're going to be doing a lot more of what we're doing right now, and my wife has been doing since spring break. She's a special ed teacher. That's how she decided to marry me, because I qualified for that. And she teaches on every level. So she's got students that would be in fifth grade and fourth grade. So she's been participating in every one of the classrooms, and working with all the students via online. And I've driven her, and we've gone up alleys and to schools and dropped off packets, things like that. So we're just doing what we have to do to get the job done.
Well, I met your wife actually at I won't mention the school, but a great asset to the school district because of her her knowledge in regards to technology. How has she experienced this unexpected distant learning, having to work from home?
Well, she has studied in that regard because they had already started some of the programs of when students were at risk, which you're probably very familiar with. They would send a home visitor or a teacher to go and actually do a tutorial in the classroom, and that created some issues of being in the property and liability and things like that. So they were going to go to doing an online. So she was getting some certifications of being able to do that, because it is definitely the future. I think that we're going to be doing more of the things that we're doing as we're doing right now. The whole game is going to change. We're talking about, I saw somebody ask real quickly, what's the mayor doing about bringing a sports team here? Well, right now, if we brought a sports team here right now, we can't have everybody go to the stadium, right? I mean, so things are put on hold, and there's big things. I'd like to quickly circle back real quick to the mayor was talking about that there's some residents that will be going into the upper floors of a lot of these buildings. As you know, that a lot of these buildings, the history of them was you had your store downstairs, and the family lived on the other levels, and there was inventory rooms and living quarters, and they did everything there. And so I think that's one of the big keys to the full circle turnaround of downtown. And that's why I think it'd be very important to have the grocery store. I was very disappointed when HEB lost, because if we have people living upstairs, let's say the college students and the people that are working at the restaurants and so on, that would be just coming downstairs and hopping on their bike and going to school and walking straight back and working at the restaurants, that's when you're going to create the whole circle, and everything will come together downtown, and you're going to create the whole entity of being able to survive on its own. And the mayor and I have talked about this. It's not all about downtown, but I think it is one of our great assets on the tourism part. I think that once all of these buildings get, and I feel very confident, I may not see it, but I feel very confident that at some point all of these are going to be beautiful, historic, redone offices, restaurants, living quarters that people are going to come here. A lot of them are probably going to be some Airbnb, and people will come and stay downtown. They will go to the restaurant and eat. They will go to the store and shop. And of course, it's not an overnight thing. Nothing is. But, cities like McAllen, they would die to have the Port of Brownsville. They would die to have Resaca's. They would die to have our bus systems. They would die to have the history of we truly are on the border. So I don't want to put McAllen down, but we've got so many things. And just having a retail store don't give me that look, Erasmo. I'm just, my mom worked for the chamber for 40 years, and they were extremely active. And this is before all the other entities had kind of, everybody was under one roof. So economic development and char days and tourism, they were all there. So when they went to work on something, they all worked on that right there together, and it really worked. So
Well, one of my concerns, Bob and Mayor. I mean, one of my concerns, and again, y'all have heard me say it many times, and I don't consider it putting Brownsville down. It's just sometimes I think that the level of frustration for a lot of individuals, just gets to the point that we should be out at the forefront in regards to economics, economic development, and everything other. And I think that's one of the things that concerns a lot of individuals out there. That we want the city of Brownsville to start showing us the money. And we're afraid that because we haven't progressed. And Mayor Mendez made mention of something that's very, very very sad for the city of Brownsville, but yet very, very true. And I appreciate that. It's been 50 years since we've had any renovations at the zoo that was a one of the top 5 zoos in the nation. And that this is nothing on Mayor Mendez or the current administration. It's because of what we've had before. So, and I think what happens, Bob, is that when we don't address the issues, we don't bring them to the forefront, we don't find a reason to find a solution for them. My concern is, are we investing in things that are not necessarily going to bring us the tax base or the revenue that's going to benefit the city as a whole? And I'll give you a couple of examples that both of y'all have experienced. Back a couple of years back, we had the issues with Ciclovia. And, one of my big gripes out there was, the bike lanes and the sharrows, bike lanes and sharrows, bike lanes and sharrows. Ciclovia produced nothing for the city of Brownsville, and yet some city commissioners were still pushing for it, closing down downtown, closing down several streets out there, and still, it's great. And I still, unless I'm completely mistaken, it still left us in a hole. I mean, we're still in a hole because of it, because the numbers were still in the negative for it. And the last time that I went to Ciclovia, which was down Morrison Road, there were 50 people out there. 50. And and the commissioner comes back and reports, we had 5,000 people out there. It's not true. And when you start building up these non-truths is when people start getting frustrated. My question, one of the things that we saw today at the commissioner meeting is that we're planning Crossroads 2021. What are our plans for Crossroads 2021, and how is that not going to be a Ciclovia? How is that actually going to generate many funds for the city of Brownsville?
Is that one for me?
Or either one?
Yeah, definitely. I can take that. We saw that the plan for year one of Crossroads was to create a festival, get the credibility, establish the brand, and try and build up the impressions, try and build up the reputation of the festival, so that the festival going forward would be self-sustaining, and that's the plan. I do not want to lose money on Crossroads going forward. You need to make an initial investment sometimes on something that's going to pay dividends. Uber hasn't made any money as a company yet it still has billions and billions of dollars worth of valuations. Same thing for Amazon. Amazon was losing money for over a decade. But that's not the goal for Crossroads, obviously. The goal is to bring a festival that's going to draw individuals from different places to come spend money in Brownsville, and for it to be self-sustaining and not be a burden on the taxpayers, but rather be a boon for the economy, bring individuals, have credibility around the state, around the country. But you have to start somewhere, right? Jeff Bezos started selling books in his garage. So yes. You have to start somewhere. And Crossroads year one, the city invested some money on that to plant the seed for going forward. My intent for it is definitely not to expend any more or lose any money on Crossroads going forward, but rather, like I said, for it to be self-sustaining and in fact start bringing in large revenues into the city. And I think we'll see that. Obviously, this is what we're going through now, and the new normal that we have, where people avoid crowds, is going to possibly, we may not even have a Crossroads 2021. We may not have ACL. We may not have any of these festivals. We may not have Char Days. We may not even have some. Let's be realistic about it. So we need to think about that going forward. But if there's a possibility, and we see that this is something that's going to work for next year, I think the commission would do it, so long as we can see that it's not going to be a loser economically.
Well, let me tell you, if you really are going to need to call in the National Guard, for a protest, it's going to be if anyone tries to cancel Charo Days in our area.
Well,
You can't get rid of Charo Days, bro, sir. There, you'll have riots.
I'm just saying, I use that as an example, but
I know. I'm just teasing.
we need to be conscious of the fact that large gatherings and festivals may not happen in 2021 anywhere.
Yes.
So let's be realistic about that. Just because BISD is having graduation doesn't mean that everything's right with the world. People are still doing risky things and things that put people in jeopardy. And if we see that putting on Crossroads next year is going to be something that isn't creating a safe environment for people, then it's not something that should go forward. Same for Charlie, same for Sombrero Fest, right? I mean, let's be realistic. Safety first.
Well, I'm all for the arts, and I mean, I'm a proponent in regards to all the fine arts, and I think that Crossroad is an avenue to bring all these amazing amazing talents that we have in the city of Brownsville together. So I'm hoping that it's going to be very, very inclusive in regards to bringing in a lot of our high schools. We just have such amazing talent. We still want the Camille Playhouse to be an intricate, a very important part of what the culture of the city of Brownsville, drives off to. So I'm hoping that they all come together in this respect.
I will say also at Erasmo, another thing that we've learned throughout all this is the value of long-term planning and the value of being prepared for things. For example, having fund balances, having money in the bank, having reserves, and having a long-term plan. For example, the zoo, like we said, 50 years, and there really hasn't been any large-scale investments. And I agree with you when you said we need to invest in things that are going to bring a return. And that's exactly the way I've approached this. I'm amazed that there was no administration prior to this that even wanted to focus on reinvesting in the zoo. And if it did, it never happened, right? So we're moving forward on that, and we see that as being something that's going to bring back money. But we see the value of long-term planning and the value of being forward-thinking and being able to weather a storm like we're weathering now. And the ones that are going to survive are the ones that had plans, the ones that had fund balances, and the ones that were prepared. Cities, municipalities, everywhere, too.
Oh, yeah, I think you froze for a little bit. Well, it's good to have you back. One of the things, going back into what's happening in regards to our schools, we are going to start to plan out the start of the next school year with what's called a hybrid type of system, where there's only going to be certain students allowed during certain times at the schools. Bob, since your wife works for the district, have you heard of any plans in regards to going back, or is there anything that y'all would like to see as the district moving forward as part of people here in Brownsville for our students?
It's definitely going to have to change. If nothing is changed by end of July, August, I don't know exactly what BISD has planned as far as when they want to try to start. I know a nephew that is going to A&M. They're going to start very early August, and Thanksgiving they're done. They're out for the whole rest of, and they're going to try to do the separation and things like that. So we definitely have to be creative. They're going to have to use a lot of these new technologies, and we'd try our best to turn a negative into a positive. It's hard for someone like myself to imagine. I feel for seniors in high school is one of the greatest years of my life. The friendships of all those years and the parties and not just crazy parties or anything like that. I'm just talking about getting together with lifelong friends that you've been together with since a lot of times since kindergarten. And it's that old new normal. It's just that we're going to have to change and adapt, and hopefully we can do these things that are going to be a lot better for everybody. And I don't know. I haven't asked her exactly what. I think they don't know a lot of really what's going to happen yet. I did plan our anniversary's coming up real soon, and I had planned on taking her to. She said she'd like to go someplace she'd never been before, and I said, well, how about the kitchen? And
Oh,
that
you're in trouble, bro.
that
You're gonna be in trouble today.
she's right. She's within firing distance. So
Hey, Natalie, let him have
anyway.
it, Natalie.
You're a brave man. You're a brave man.
One of the questions that's coming up a lot, Mayor, and I don't want that to sound, is in regards to our streets being in such disrepair. Is the city working on our streets? What is the plan moving forward in regards to fixing more of our streets out there?
Sure. Actually, the city hasn't stopped working during the last 2.5 months. If people look outside, you notice city crews are working. Streets are still being repaired. And then the city also commissioned what's called a pavement condition index within the last 2 months. And the importance of that, again, goes to planning. So with the pavement condition index, PCI, what it's doing is it's evaluating the condition of streets so that we can prioritize which ones need to be done first. We've also allocated a lot more funding towards infrastructure and improvements going forward. You can look at the city budget. We've got a lot more money set aside for that. So we're moving on that. It will never be quick enough, for individuals, unfortunately, but it's a heck of a lot more than has ever been done, and we're moving. I'm actually very pleased with the way that's been moving, and with the crew that we have in place now, I feel very confident that you're going to see a lot more street improvements than you have in the past. We're seeing a lot more infrastructure improvements as well through the MPO. It's brought a heck of a lot more additional funding. We're going to see a lot more highway and connector improvements in the next couple of years too. So things are really looking up when it comes to streets and paving. Drainage is something that still needs improvement. Our deferred maintenance on drainage is through the roof. It's something that would make a lot of people run away crying. But we need a lot of work on drainage, and that's something that's also being planned. But the expense for that is something that's going to require most likely some sort of coalition, not just Brownsville, but maybe other cities in the county.
One of the things that, I don't know if y'all knew this, but I ran for mayor of the city of Brownsville. I wanted your job, Mayor, but
you can have it, brother.
You can have it. Maybe after COVID-16. Hey, but one of the things that, when I ran for the mayor of the city of Brownsville, one thing that I found out was everyone was concerned about their street, and again, and if they were fixing one street, you still had, out of 100, you still had 99 that were not upset about it. So it got to the point where, one of the things I thought was very funny that we'd have these forums. This is before you ran mayor, but you actually encouraged me to run for mayor. So it's your fault that I even got into politics, sir. But with that said,
oh boy, you're calling me Dr. Frankenstein?
Yeah, you're the reason.
You created a monster.
If anyone out there wants to blame anyone for Erasmo Castro running for office or being on the board or anything, it's Mayor Mendez's fault. I'll confess. But with that said, one of the questions that we always get at the forums in regards to the streets and the potholes, and I told them, guys, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because it's just we don't have the funds to fix. And again, it's going back into Mayor Mendez, and I appreciate you greatly, and you don't have an easy job because I truthfully believe, and I want everyone to know,
job if you get paid.
Yeah, no, and I want everyone in Brownsville to know, you when you came on, you didn't receive a gem that you needed to continue to go out there. We received a semi-sinking ship because of something that you mentioned, and maybe I added on to it a little bit, but previous administrations for many years had just been neglectful in regards to fixing a lot of things. And when there's little things to fix, and Bob knows this because of selling out properties, when you have to fix a door and you have to fix just a little bit of the hinge here and there, it's going to cost you $5-6, to get a new hinge out at Home Depot, right, Bob? But if you let it go, and it makes a crack in the door, then you're going to have to replace the whole damn door. And that's what's happened, in my belief, to the city of Brownsville. It's just it's been neglected to the point that now it's just it would take a miracle to fix every issue that's here in the city of Brownsville. And I understand that a lot of people are trying to do their best with what they've been giving, but only so much lemonade that you can make from rotten lemons. And it's just the way things are. so one of my suggestions at the forums that I used to participate in, Mayor, was, we're going to fix the streets that, go towards the places that actually generate funds for the city of Brownsville, so we could possibly later on fix more streets. So that was my take on it. But going back to the MPO, one of and I did sit on the MPO for a little bit. I was on the board. I had the privilege of sitting in a couple of meetings. One of my concerns that I shared with a lot of individuals at the city and at the county was I wanted sidewalks by our schools. And I know that TxDOT, there was a grant that was out there. Have we heard anything from TxDOT or the county in regards to getting sidewalks for our students out at our schools?
Actually, yeah. You and I had these discussions, about a little bit less than a year ago at Erasmo, and we started moving forward on this. And actually, I did see something about that within the last few days. I know a couple I think have been done already, but we are moving forward on planning some more. So that's something that's really, really necessary. I think the school district should have some responsibility for that as well. It's their school, so I think that they should pitch in. But that's definitely something that's going to happen in the future, thankfully.
Thank you. One of the words, this is actually a good question. I made mention of it. While eminent domain should be the last resort, if it gets to that, would y'all consider it using it to allow the expansion of the zoo?
Eminent domain refers to private property. The property that's owned in front of the zoo is not private. It's owned by the school district.
I think she's referring to the one on the al costado, the one opposite of the Amity district.
Oh, well, sure. I mean, that's a consideration. I hope it doesn't have to get to that point, but that would definitely be within our purview and a consideration. We just have to weigh what the benefits would be against displacing those individuals. But I'm not even thinking that far. That shouldn't be necessary, and I hope it's not necessary. If that comes to that, then we're going to have to weigh the options and the benefits.
Well, one of the things that and I made mention of it because I get very frustrated with PUB because I just have my issues with PUB. But with that said, have we gotten any progress reports in regards to the 1.3 million that we're missing at PUB? And also, is there any way to allocate a lot of the funds, the $35 million that they had left over in regards to money that they reserved for TANASCA for anything to benefit the city in regards to economic development or in any way benefiting the city of Brownsville?
Well, the money, the TANASCA money, I'm not sure if it was within the first 2 or 3 months that I was mayor and on the PUB board. We separated those funds that were left from TANASCA, set them aside, and put them in a separate fund that has not been used, has not been touched until we determine how to best use that. So we have to understand that that's PUB money at this point. So the PUB board is going to determine how that money is spent. I am on the board, thankfully, so I'm going to have some input on that. So that $29 million is still in an account not to be touched until we determine how we're going to do that. In regards to your other question regarding the money, I did receive some news this past week that the money should be coming back. So that's great news, and the authorities have determined that the money. I don't know whether they found it. I don't know if that's the right term, but the money should be returned to PUB here soon as it's determined that the money can come back. But the investigation is still ongoing, but the money's been identified, and we should be getting it back.
And just to respond to Mike, I'm not making excuses for anyone, but again, I understand, and a lot of the individuals out there, they feel at times, frustrated in regards to, not having an avenue, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create an avenue in regards to respond to the question. And I apologize for not getting to every single question out there, but there are a lot, and that there's just a lot to talk about. Bob, going into property values, are we going to continue to see a rise in regards to property values being on the rise, and is it going to continue to affect individuals who are struggling in order to pay the taxes by the previous year's appraisal values?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that probably will happen, and the only way is the old squeaky wheel. We're going to have to protest, not protest in the streets, but you can actually make the protest about your value. And the thing is right now there's actually it's crazy. I received 2 contracts today on 2 different properties. The sales are moving along, so it's very, very difficult. But when people start losing money from other resources, they start digging to see where else they can get it from, and that's the reality. And just to circle back real quick, I don't want to, but eminent domain was used for the original zoo. It was used for a lot of the expressway going north and south. I mean, I remember. I mean, there were people who fought and wanted to stay in their home there, but we really wanted it to be right across from the park, and it was done. It's really, really a tough call. You try to do it for the greater good of everyone. But if I'm a homeowner and I've been there and my grandparents lived there and the whole family had lived in a place, it is a tough call. But, it's there for a reason, and it is used, and it was used there was a whole subdivision there. It just wasn't a big tract of land. So it is always an option, but it is a tough call. So, you weigh, is this going to be a greater good for the city? And are we ultimately going to be able to create more monies and pay the people the proper amount for the value of their property and increase a tremendous asset? I mean, the zoo is just an asset that, as going back to other cities, would just die to have.
Right.
And but we are in very, very tough times right now, and people can't just go and mingle around and run around with their whole family, and so they have to get creative. My dad was in several plays in the Camille Playhouse. He was on the board. They always struggled. It's not a huge money maker. They just kind of break even. And when something like this happens where they can't even have an audience in there,
right,
they're getting creative, and they're trying to do some online stuff and having some plays and stuff and trying to get donations. But you can't always just put your hand out to the city because they don't have it all. And as long as I can remember, people have complained about the streets. It's just something that every my street, I need to have my street done. Right? It's just a constant. We live in a delta, and some the sinkholes and the rain, and they tear up pretty quickly.
It does.
And so anyway.
Well, we appreciate you, and Mayor Mendez. I'm going to leave this here for you. I know that you've got a busy day out there tomorrow. With that said, Mayor Mendez, hopefully we can continue those talks that we were having before, sir, after November. Let's plan on them very, very seriously. I think one of the things that's very important, and a lot of times people say, "Oh, they're just trying to be." No, I think we all have the same goal. We want Brownsville to shine. We want Brownsville to prosper. We want Brownsville to push and move forward. I mean, anyone who would want to see the detriment or the fall of Brownsville, needs to move out or, is probably not from Brownsville. But Mayor, I appreciate your time. We're going to stay for a little bit and wrap up in regards to BISD and other boring stuff for you.
Take advantage of Bob while you got him. So I'm going to
I have to drive.
I still got some
I'm
time.
an Uber driver. I got to drive the mayor.
Have a great night.
Mayor, appreciate your time, Mayor. Have a great day. We're very blessed to have you, sir.
Well, thank you,
Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Ya lo corrí.
Yeah, the push of a button, you got rid of the mayor.
If I only had that power. Now, I want to go to a question, and I'm going to just to answer. I'm going to try to answer, or we're all going to try to answer some of the questions that are coming in. And again, guys, we're doing our best. I appreciate the fact that there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of questions being asked. We're not trying to avoid questions. We're not trying to softball questions because I think that you know me better than that. It's just, you go around trying to ask what is out there prevalent in regards to what's going on towards the day. But I do want to answer this question. He goes, hi, I heard that there's an LGBTQ committee. Is there a people with disabilities committee? I'm going to say that there isn't, because again, we go back, Ilda, into what I was mentioning last night. And y'all can disagree with me, Bob or Frankie, and I'm okay with it. We go back to what I was saying yesterday, last night, I think. I hate when people start labeling individuals. And nobody wants to get labeled. Nobody wants to get labeled, oh, this is the guy, the blind guy. This is the deaf person. They just want to be part of the community. So when we start having these committees with a disabilities committee, well, it goes on and adds another label into individuals. That's my issue with the LGBTQ committee. I mean, why do you want those labels, especially when you got individuals in the group that are not going to benefit or push the group forward in any which way, shape, or form whatsoever? So I think people with disabilities should be part of every other committee already, and not necessarily disabilities. Whereas in each and every committee out there, there's individuals that can relate and express their concerns in regards to the people that they're representing out there. Am I wrong, or did anyone have any other different opinion in regards to it?
No, I don't disagree with it. I know that just from the little bit of watching the city commission meetings and things like that, that they wanted to have a voice, and they wanted to form and be able to come as a group and speak to. So I mean, I don't know what the answer is exactly to that, but I know the disabilities. This is a tough one for me, because my mother is handicapped. My mother-in-law is handicapped. My father was handicapped with a heart condition. My mom can barely walk without my arm and things like that. And when I see people park in a handicapped space when they are completely able to, it kind of chaps my hide. And I realize that I can't just judge everybody because there are underlying conditions. But when I see somebody hop and skip and jump, or I personally know them, and maybe you have a mother that is handicapped and you've got the sticker, and then you park in a handicap sticker because your mom's not with you, it's something that kind of bothers me, because you, more than anybody, should know the difficulty you have with having a handicapped person. So I wish the police would deputize me so I could give out some tickets in that, but that's just one of my pet peeves of that issue with handicap parking and access and things like that.
Erasmo,
so I don't think. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I was going to say. I mean, yes, I think at some point you can have too many committees. I mean, if you just start forming committee after committee, and they're just talking to themselves and not moving forward,
exactly.
You're not getting anything done. You might be, preaching to the choir for an hour a week, but you're not exactly moving forward on things. So I think the mayor's leadership is very inclusive. So he is willing to. I think he's a good man. I think he's a good person. And so I think he will listen to everybody. You have to remember that everybody is tugging on his ear and his coats and trying to get things done, and that's understandable. That's I think he probably understood that more than anybody, that when he came into the position. But politics is a tough game. I think people need to realize. This is where I'll talk about my age, Erasmo, is that. I think that yeah, well, I think I'm older than you by a lot, but anyway, is that we cannot disregard our history. We cannot disregard how things came about and who was there before us, because we stand on their shoulders. I've seen it with my family, and now my mom, who still works and still does projects for the church. She just did a beautiful mural and everything. And we have a meeting, and I see people dismiss her because she is an elderly woman, and she could whip us all three into shape, still to this day. But I think the reason that we do have history in school, and it's because we learn from these.
Right.
And so I would like to put a message out there to especially our younger people coming up that are going to take the reins and be the leaders of tomorrow, if not already today, is don't disregard your elders. Don't disregard the history. Uh, if you do, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And there's a lot of knowledge that you can gain by just sitting down with somebody and learning something. I'm always in awe of when I do walk around downtown with some of the guys who are much younger than me. I'll say, this building was this, and this was this, and this, and we used to stop here. And they had no idea. And a lot of people have no idea what some of these buildings are downtown. And I don't want to talk about just downtown, but to the north where the woods and everything else is. When I was in high school and right out of that was like Monte. You go hunting out there. I mean, and now it's way inside our city limits. So.
Well, let me go into what you just mentioned real quick. One of the things that you mentioned was in regards to, don't forget our history, disrespect. There's two things I want to mention, but I want to start with the first one. Well, Adrian, send me an inbox message. I'll help you with your taxes. Well, in regards to the respect out there, Bob, one of the things that we experienced yesterday at the Rivera graduation was, I think, the valedictorian, took a knee during the national anthem. It is said, I haven't seen the pictures yet, but supposedly today, 10 individuals at the Hannah graduation took a knee as well. There's individuals that are saying, well, it's, freedom to protest. And there's other individuals that are saying, well, it's the constitutional right, to take a knee. And again, some of those are saying that it's disrespectful to our flag. What is your take on kneeling during the national anthem?
Thank you. You're going to put me there, right?
Hey,
no pressure.
Hey, come on to answer the easy questions.
I think that a lot of us down here, we do kind of sort of live in a little bit of a bubble because we don't have a full, we are 90+% Hispanic. If you're treated the way a lot of the videos and stuff I see are, I can understand the frustration. I'm totally against looting and things like that. But the frustration is a lot more than just, unfortunately, Mr. Floyd's death. This is something that happens to people on a daily basis. And a wise person told me a long time ago, if you get treated like an animal, you're going to act like an animal. You get treated as a second-class citizen, you're going to have that in your heart. It's going to, and that anger bubbles up. And when you feel you don't have an outlet, it could, it leads to what's going on here. But having said that, I totally disagree with looting and breaking of windows and smashing people up. And
yay or nay?
I'm sorry?
Taking a knee during the anthem, yay or nay?
I think it's their absolute right to do it.
Good. Frankie, take a knee during the anthem.
It's tough. These individuals, I think they want to make a statement. We've seen how in the Olympics, those runners, they held their fist up in solidarity with the African Americans during the 60s or 70s, if I'm not mistaken. And lately, we've had Colin Kaepernick. It's something that they're passionate about. I do see that. There is a social injustice that, has been apparent lately, now more than ever, with the death of this individual up in Minnesota. I do see the frustration in people. I'm all for protests. I'm all for demonstrating, using a platform, so to speak. But one thing I don't appreciate is taking a knee for the flag. Again, we live in a country that is free. But at the end of the day, I have relatives, dear friends of mine that are in the military, served in the military, are veterans, and some that lost their lives. And I think that we shouldn't put our knee, we shouldn't take a knee for our own benefit at their cost. Again, there's other ways, there's other avenues in which we can do that. And freedom of speech, I'm all for it. But when it deals with disrespecting the flag and the soldiers and the men and women who risk their lives so we could live in a democratic society in the free world, in one of the best nations in the world. It does bother me, Erasmo. Again, there's other ways where we can demonstrate, show how unsatisfied we are, how we see an injustice. But let's be vocal about it. Let's talk about it. Let's dialogue with Bob and with Erasmo. And I could tell Bob how I'm frustrated, but looting is not going to help. Tearing down the country is not going to help. And in my opinion, taking a knee on one of the most sacred things, which is standing up for the national anthem, remembering our men and women who served our country, to me, that's a sign of disrespect. But that's my opinion.
I agree. Mike, let me answer your question real quick, Mike. First of all, when I was talking about the taxes going up, I wasn't referring to the taxes going up in regards to anything dealing with the city, Mike. What we were talking about, Mike, if you remember correctly, when I did make the mention in regards to, did we struck oil or something, was the appraised value. And the problem, Mike, is that the mayor of the city of Brownsville has no control over appraised value. See, that is what being a little bit in regards knowledgeable of who we have to direct our anger to. Now, if we want to direct the anger, what the mayor was talking about in regards to not raising taxes was not raising city taxes. That which is under control of the city commission. But in regards to the appraisal values that a lot of us are concerned with, the city has nothing to do with it, Mike. It is the county. The county is the one that determines the appraised value of the property. And we did ask that question. We did ask that question of Bob. We asked that question in regards to the mayor. They both agreed that it was high and, it was at the wrong time. I actually asked the question 2 or 3 different times in different ways in regards to the appraised value. Mike, I'm sorry, Mike, the WTF, but it has nothing to do with the mayor of the city of Brownsville. They do not control the appraised value. And that was my comment in regards to did we struck oil? Did they find gold now in the city of Brownsville? Because our appraised values have gone up. And when I refer to the city of Brownsville, you have to understand that the city of Brownsville is the seat of the county. Again, we should be leading. And unfortunately, most of the time, we are not. And I'm going back into the school district. School district is like continuously being reactive to measures and not being proactive in any other way. I also made mention in regards to the hurricanes. I said all the other cities in the city of Brownsville are already announcing that they are starting to give out sandbags. Are there any plans in place in regards? So what hard questions do you want me to ask that I haven't been asking? I've been asking the questions that are of concern to the people of Brownsville because they've asked the questions, because what we try to do here every evening is to share the current events of what happened in the day, bro. So I'm trying my darndest. What question have I not asked these people that y'all want me to ask? Tell me. But I've tried. So again, throw them out there. And the mayor, I mean, we can't keep, I'd love to have the mayor on here for 3 hours. We just can't, guys. Come on. The guy's been out there since the morning. And I'll guarantee you, I know for a fact that, because I know the guy, he's not out there dealing with Tony Martinez questions. Tony Martinez would show up with a vest and blue jeans to the meetings. No respect whatsoever to the city of Brownsville. We finally got a mayor that's working 24/7 on the issues of Brownsville, who's willing to come on and answer the questions, and we still want to throw mud his way? I mean, let's throw mud at the people that aren't working. Look at how many people in the city commission have actually joined in on this talk show tonight. I mean, what the hell are they doing? Why don't they get asked anything? Isn't Erasmo or Erasmo Castro? It's Erasmo Castro. So
did y'all get to see the Harlingen protest? They had a pretty good turnout compared to Brownsville. Y'all get to see that?
Yeah, they actually did, and they actually had the protest in a street or on a street that actually had traffic going by.
They didn't have a dog though.
Yeah, we had a dog.
Ask him out on the day people. I have, and he's rejected me. So
what were you gonna say, Bob?
It hurt.
No, I was to go back to the. I mean, I personally think I've been in the business 35 years, probably longer than Frankie's been alive, and our whole system with property taxes, I think, are flawed. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to take the scapegoat out because I don't know exactly what would be the best way to do this. But if you think about it, you own a piece of property and you were taxed at a value. Now you're being taxed. I'm going to give you a perfect example. I had a client that bought many acres on the expressway for $300,000. Very shortly after that, it had gone up into the millions of dollars, and he was doing nothing with it. It was sitting there on the expressway. We couldn't sell it, so he's telling the appraisal district, well, if it's worth $3 million, give me $3 million. I'll take it and I'll run. So you've got a dollar amount that, where is it? Your property, Erasmo, is worth $500,000, and
Bring
you're
it.
like, where
Sell.
is it?
Sell.
Where is it? You know, it's not there. So we're being taxed on an amount that you don't realize until you actually sell it. And if you are fortunate enough to sell it at that amount, then you're going to get taxed on that amount. So you get it coming and going. So they've looked at many different ways of how to do it differently. I know California has a lock. You buy something at 100. That's why there's so many elderly people in these outside of Beverly Hills and things like that bought something for $50,000-$60,000. They stay taxed at that amount until they sell it.
Wow.
When they sell it, then they get taxed.
Felicidades a Roel Garza, el Brownie, class of 2020. Ruben Saldivar, so frustrating. I know, Claudia. Can we get Orange Street fixed up, please? Yes. The sad part is taking a knee and peacefully protesting has done his way to hope. I'll answer the question. Someone asked the question in regards to people protesting. Should they be run over by 18-wheelers? They shouldn't. No one should get run over by anyone. But let me tell you something, guys. If these people are jumping up onto trailers to hurt the individual that's driving the trailers or to steal the loot that's in their back, then they better believe they should be run over. It's the same thing when someone goes into your property, goes into your house. If someone goes into your property to rape, to pillage, to steal, to plunder, shoot them. Shoot them, not to hurt them. Shoot them so that they will never, ever, ever, ever again be able to do that to anyone ever, ever, ever again. In regards to the protesting, let me tell you right now, my opinion, the girl has a constitutional right to kneel whenever the heck she wants. Now, my concern, well, not my concern, my pet peeve is when you start to associate it to a movement that is based on something that, is really detrimental to a community. And by that, I mean, if we're out there protesting the bad situation that happened in regards to George Floyd, him losing his life, then, it's a very, very great cause. But look at how disproportionate it has been in regards to the individuals that have been out there looting, rioting in the name of the memory of George Floyd. That is wrong. That is not protest guaranteed by the constitutional right. With that said, to the individuals that protested, that took a knee yesterday, and those who supposedly took a knee today, more power to you guys. More power to you. I support what you did 100%. But tomorrow, I want you to join us as we fight PUB in the injustices that they have perpetrated on our city. And next time that an organization or corporation wants to come in to steal millions of our dollars, you're the ones I'm going to call on. I'm going to call on you because I want you to show the same empathy we have for other situations throughout the country with that which affects us as a city directly here in the city of Brownsville. So again, I support you 100%. And I don't like that 110%, 150% because that's bullcrap. It doesn't exist. There's only 100%. I support you 100% in regards to your constitutional right. But tomorrow, you better believe I'm going to be calling on you to come and help the fight for our citizens here in Brownsville as well.
Do y'all think that we have Tuesday through Friday or Saturday that are going to have graduations? You think we're going to see more and more students, guys, taking a knee?
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I think so. I think that that they definitely will. I mean, it's they're frustrated. They've had a tough year, and they're going to do it. And I understand exactly what you're saying, Frank. It's not like something that I don't know that I would do. My father was an extremely patriotic man. Every prayer before dinner, he thanked God for our troops and keep them out of harm's way and things like that. But as Erasmo pointed out, it is a constitutional right to do it. So if I go on those bounds, then yes, they have the right to do it. They can do it. I've even heard some Army personnel said, "This is what we fought for, so you can do these kind of things." Because in other countries, you get your head cut right off before doing anything else. It is a very tough one. It is a very tough one. I would like to see us go back to where, now we have these specialty singers and things like that, and you stand there and people are kind of talking, and the national anthem is going on. Let's not kid ourselves. It happens. People are not focused on the flag and everything. I would like for us to go back to where the entire crowd sings the national anthem together. We don't need a special vocalist. I think it was beautiful when that used to happen, and it's happened here and there. Everybody is engaged. Everybody is singing. Everybody knows the words, and it's a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing. So just, it is nice to have the celebrity or showcase a singer from the school district or for wherever. But to have the entire group, as I remember a lot of times, to have everybody in the whole stadium singing is beautiful.
Some of us do it. I sing at every national anthem. I have a beautiful voice, so they're lucky to hear me, I think. Adrian, yeah, sure, Adrian. Send me a message in the morning, Adrian, at 8:30, and I'll get you on. Don't worry. I'll talk with you for what. Tacos Campeón. I love Tacos Campeón. I had Tacos Campeón last Wednesday. Pretty
They're
good.
still around?
Yeah, of course they are. They're right there.
Wow.
They're right in front of the church.
Oh, I remember them over there by Chick-fil-A.
No, they're
in that plaza.
They're right in front of the church on where
International.
where rallies used to be. Can I bring up road repair? We need Orange Street fixed. They usually patch it up 100%. Actually, it's one of the things that I've spoken with the city commissioner in that area before she stopped not responding to my questions. I did make mention in regards to Orange Street to all those areas. Girl Neil, she's gonna be asked a lot of. Mike, be nice. For our nephew Antonio Paquet, high school graduate. COVID-19 2020. God bless.
Congratulations.
Erasmo Castro Scuttles. I don't even know what that means. I have a beautiful voice. Sounds like cats having You've heard me sing then. Class of 2020, Jesus Carrizales, a.k.a. El Gallo de Brownsville. Guys, to all our graduates, man, really very, very proud of y'all. These are not easy or nice times. But guys, we're very proud of you. And I was hoping that I've said it, I was hoping that there wasn't going to be a graduation more than anything because of the health and well-being of our community. But again, you roll with what's thrown your way. They decided to have it. I'm praying that everyone maintains social distancing, wear their face coverings, so it doesn't, our numbers don't spike in the next 2 weeks. And like I think Bob said, we'll see in 2 weeks. We're going to find out exactly what the brunt force of these actions were. With that said, we have students. I'm going to say we're now at 50 students that have tested positive for COVID-19, not COVID-16, and we have yet to hear from the superintendent or from the school board. Not a statement, nothing. And I think that's very, very disheartening. We should get a statement at least of concern of what's going on with our students, especially since now we've learned that at one of our schools, our teachers have started to test positive. And it's one of those schools that there has been no social distancing and there was no proper PPE whatsoever. Erasmo, 27th Street on Southmost floods bad. Let me tell you, 27th Street on Southmost has flooded since I was a child. I actually used to swim on Reese Street and 27th Street cuando se llenaba de agua. We were actually out there swimming in the muddy water. It's been going on for years. And again, it's not going, and Arias, unfortunately, it's not going to get fixed anytime soon. It's not going to get fixed anytime soon. Where we still have, I mean, we know yesterday Boca Chica Street flooded, and I know that state highway or state is responsible for it, TxDOT. But even then, so
They're doing work, aren't they, Erasmo? Right
Well,
now, currently.
they're putting some
Well, they're putting sidewalks.
sidewalks. Or
Oh,
They're
okay.
putting sidewalks on the right side.
I see.
put neon codes.
So,
Wear a mask. So they're putting sidewalks again. Is that going to be a solution to the water issue on there? I don't know. I hope it is, but I don't think it's happening. With that said, Iris, I would say that we still have to focus on the streets that are going to generate income for the city of Brownsville first. And what needs to happen, and again, I've posted pictures on it. I've seen a lot of individuals out there, take matters into their own hands and, go out there and sweep their own gutters on the streets in front of their houses to make sure that they're not cluttered out so that, streets would flood less. That's all we can do right now. But for 27th Street, please reach out to your commissioner. When she's not at Dodici Pizza, she's probably with, somewhere or other is there.
Too soon.
Eating pan dulce. Eating pan dulce fakely at one of the local panaderias. So, reach out to her and share with her your concerns. Not that she's doing much of anything else, but listening to us tonight. So, unas beers, Erasmo. Sí o no te agüitas. I don't drink anymore, Felipe. I actually stopped drinking since my DWI.
I got 10 and a half years. September will be 11 years driving for me.
Me, it's I think it's 6 months that I've not had a drink, and again, I don't plan to. I've quit drinking as it's put enough people through enough already, so I don't plan to start drinking anytime soon or ever, maybe.
It's been great for me. It's not anything that I miss or anything like that. It's been good.
Good.
So.
Class of 2020.
But I think just real quickly, if anybody needs help, they need to reach out. There's plenty of places to reach out to if you do want that help.
Yes, actually, and again, guys, one of the things, we joke around a lot here. We yell at each other sometimes, but one of the things that's very important, guys, you all still have my inbox. Everyone in Brownsville has my phone number. If you ever need any type of help or assistance whatsoever in regards to any dependency, or if you are feeling down, depressed, anxious, nervous, and want to harm yourself or maybe want to harm others, you call me. You contact me. You have my information. I care. Can they fix the streets instead of more bike lanes? Let me tell you, that has been my call for years. Enough with the bike lanes. Let's start fixing our streets. Pero no nos hacen caso. You're under sea level. You're bound to flood. I guess. Agree, my stars.
I mean, I have spoken to someone that's very, very knowledgeable and asked about the flooding. This was a year or so ago. And he pointed that out. We are, we're called the Valley, but we're actually a Delta. And our soil shifts and there's the high water table. And that the main drive of South Padre Island is actually below sea level.
Wow.
So Gulf Boulevard that runs along the beach is slightly above. What's the main drags lane? The South Padre Island Highway. The main street is actually below sea level. So that's why when we've had these storms, they really, really, really flood. So it's a big portion of it is where we're located. Being in the home business, there's a lot of foundation shifting and that kind of issue having to do with houses. If they're not done right and they're put up quickly, you're going to have some issues.
Congratulations, Sammy Galvan, Kiko's daughter. I know Kiko. It was a friend of mine from Matamoros. JC Morales, class of 2020, age 21. Congratulations. I thought he was working there because traffic is horrible. Lots of accidents happen there 100%. We pay too many taxes and nothing is being done. Yes, it's not the drainage that's a problem. There's no place to send it. O sea, level. Where hell is Brownsville? South of San Antonio, Matt. Come down and visit. We got some good tacos here.
On the border by the sea.
On the border by the sea, come eat some tacos. Pump the water out the Kual.
I actually.
Congrats to Maria Fuentes, class of 2020. Guys,
Congratulations.
Is about to die. Thank you, Porfirio Hernandez Recreational Products, for donating against COVID. Adrian, see you tomorrow, Adrian, at 8:30 in the morning. Bob, thank you so much for being here, Bob. I've only got 4% battery left, so it's going to shut down sooner or later. Bob, thanks, man. And you got an open invitation anytime
Just
you want.
real quickly.
Go.
On the Border by the Sea, I knew the gentleman that came up with that. He worked for the city, Bill Rudd. His son is Michael Rudd and children. He's the one that came up with On the Border by the Sea.
Nice.
And I'd love to talk to you sometime about more of the history stuff of how things happened and properties and stuff like that. So.
Bob, you have an open invitation anytime you can. Just let Frankie know. You're surely more than welcome. I really enjoyed having you. And I do appreciate your friendship. I appreciate what you do for the city of Brownsville in your own way. Adrian, I'm your biggest fan, bro. Tomorrow, send me an inbox if you want to come on. That's fine. I do it by my Te bañas. Nombre, it's not Saturday, Rudy. Milpa Verde, los desagües no funcionan bien, las calles se inundan y las casas también. Es cierto. Estamos hablando. Bill Rudd, I beat him up once. That's why he left, bro. Guys, have a great rest of the evening. God bless. Take care. Happy graduation to everyone that graduated. Love y'all. Hasta mañana. God bless. Take care. Be good to everyone. Be good to me.